There are people in history who survived ethnic cleansing, and there are people who forged their identity through self-determination, resilience, and hard work. The Igbo people of southern Nigeria belong to these two groups. They lost homes, yet rebuilt cities. They lost wealth, yet created new economies. They faced intimidation, yet refused to bow. This is not mythology. This is documented history. And when history has proven anything again and again, then it is true. You can defeat the Igbo temporarily, but you cannot break their spirit. As the legendary writer, late Professor Chinua Achebe once said, the Igbo are not afraid of tomorrow. And to understand why, we must travel back long before Nigeria even existed.
There are still plenty of Nigerians who say that the Igbos are much too clever for anybody's good. That's really the reason they fought them during the war, to teach them a lesson, to show them they could neither expect to dominate Nigeria nor set up a country on their own. There's a Nigerian joke that says that the very word Igbo stands for I before others. Certainly the Igbos are competitive and aggressive. The merest look around the market here tells you that. But these are the very qualities they need to recover from the war. No one who was in Biafra during the fighting can doubt the Igbo's ingenuity, their sheer ability to get things done. The Commissioner for Economic Development here says the Igbos can't really expect to be like the Germans and Japanese, to emerge even more prosperous from the ashes of war. All the same, it could happen. It's already said that the Igbos will reach their pre-war level of economic activity by the end of next year. So though they may be down, the Igbos are definitely not out. It really depends on the help they get from the federal government, how quickly they're able to get back on their feet again. Richard Lindy, News at 10, East Central State, Nigeria.
Most empires in history understand conquests in one simple way. Capture the king, and the people will become your subjects. Strike the shepherd, as they say, the sheep will scatter. Destroy the palace, and the resistance will end. But when outsiders encountered the Igbo people, they became confused because there was no overarching ruler who would wield the power of life and death. No throne that ruled over all the people. No emperor whose defeat meant victory of the people. The Igbo communities operated through something revolutionary for its time, a decentralized government. Villages were led by council of elders, age grades, community assemblies. Decisions were debated before conclusions are reached. Voices mattered. Authority lived among the people. It was what the white man described as organized anarchy. Renowned historian Adiele Afikpo explained it clearly. Igbo political organization made conquest difficult because power was decentralized. Think about that for a moment. How do you conquer a society where leadership exists everywhere? Where leadership most importantly resides with the people? Where every man believes he has ownership in his own community? You cannot simply remove one leader and then everybody is conquered, because leadership in their understanding is shared. And when people have such an understanding, they believe their voices matter. Each voice matters. Fear loses power. This single cultural phenomenon of the Igbo people laid a foundation that would later become one of the great obstacles of colonial administration. In the late 18th century, British colonial expansion pushed deeper into Igbo territories. They expected quick submission. After all, they had modern weapons, organized military commands, and everything required. They even had global imperial power as at the time. But then, they encountered an Igbo people west of the Niger. They encountered resistance, the Ekumeku, anti-colonial resistance struggle. From 1883 to 1914, more than 30 years, the Igbo people, the Igbo communities fought a guerrilla struggle against one of the most powerful empires on earth. Think about that. Farmers, traders, blacksmiths, hunters, all these different groups facing a trained British army and holding them for over 30 years. British records themselves described these fighters as elusive, persistent, and difficult to suppress because there was no particular structure to be hijacked. There was no centralized army to defeat, no capital city to capture. When one village was attacked, another village sprung up. When fighters disappeared into the forest, they emerged from another community and they returned unexpectedly. There was no single battlefield. Every community became a center of resistance. This was not just war. This was philosophy of the Igbo people. Freedom to them was not something granted by any authority. It was something defended collectively. And that mindset continues to echo even decades later. During one of the darkest moments in Nigerian history, Nigeria gained her independence in 1960. Hope filled the air. A new nation, a new beginning. But beneath that hope, tensions were growing.